This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. We have talked about it for the bulk of this season. The way things have played out, it is clear to me and many of the Browns fans that changes need to be made, that the Browns need to go for changes, or else they risk getting even worse than they are right now. So what I want to do today is go through a bunch of the players who are going to kind of be on the block, some of the coaches who could potentially be on the block, go through each of them and rank them on whether they should stay. We're going to do this through a tier list. It's going to be fun. I got 5 different tiers here. So if I could bring that up, I got 5 different tiers here, right? Extend, which means, hey, not only do we want to keep this guy, we want to give them a new contract. And then there's keep, which is obvious. Maybe, which is, I could see it making sense, but if the price is too high or something like that, then not going to do it. Conditional, which means not really for keeping the guy unless there are specific conditions that can be met or that are met that would make me want to keep that guy at this point. And then fire would be obviously nothing needs to be explained there, and just go ahead, pack your bags at the end of the season. So those are the list. That's what we're going to do today. Real quick, let me thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. All right, so the first guy we're going to talk about here is Mr. Devin Bush. So Devin Bush has been a solid player for the Browns. I think he is real close. He could play his way into potentially being extended. I think for right now, though, I'm going to put him at keep. The reason I'm putting him at keep and not extended is simple. He has played well enough that he can be a useful starter for us going forward. There are some questions about, like, hey, how does he fit in if the Browns make some changes in the coaching staff that pop up, right? He's not somebody I see that the Browns are going to want to keep no matter what their fit is for this team. I think he's very specific to the fit. But if they don't make a massive change on the defensive side of the ball, I can see them keeping him. Just not a lot of comfort in giving him an extension, right? He's a bit too conditional of a player to give an extension, but he's a better player than what I would deem a conditional keep, right? Let's go to the next guy, which is Jack Conklin. Gonna throw Jack Conklin in conditional. Now, the reason Jack Conklin is in conditional is you would rather be in a situation where you don't have to rely on Jack Conklin. Because relying on Jack Conklin has been a massive pain in this team's ass for like the last 3 years, right? Because he's always injured. At some point, he's just not really available all the time. And that's been a problem. And his presence, partly because like the coaching staff had so much trust in him, has kind of been a little bit of a crutch, which has stopped the Browns from going out and replacing him with other tackles. Now, they've tried. They brought in DeJuan Jones. DeJuan Jones has had injury issues to start his career as well. So, just double bad luck there. I would say it's conditional. If you're not hearing great things about DeJuan Jones's recovery from his season-ending injury this year, which is possible, he's a very large man with a knee injury, and you're not loving the market for free agent tackles, you're not getting a lot of noise on trades, and you look at the draft, and right now the draft's not predicted to have a lot of tackles in it, then conditionally that would make sense to keep Jack Conklin in that condition. If you do like the tackle class and you think you can get a tackle with one of your first round picks, if you do like the free agent class and you think you can get a better player than Jack Conklin for similar money, if you feel like DeJuan Jones is going to come back from that injury fine and be able to be a competitor for that right tackle job, then let him go, right? But if certain conditions are met, you probably want to have a just in case deal for a guy like Jack Conklin. Wyatt Teller, you're probably going to have to keep Wyatt Teller. Now, I know Wyatt Teller hasn't been the most consistent. He's still the Browns' best offensive lineman. The Browns are going to owe him void year money. So financially, it just makes more sense to pay Wyatt Teller to play for the Browns instead of to pay him to not play for the Browns. You're not going to want to replace all 5 offensive linemen in 1 year. You're going to want to do this offensive line replacement project over a couple of seasons, right? So this year and 2027, it would not be wise to try to do it all in one swing. So, you're going to want to take your time with it. You can gradually phase out Wyatt Teller as time goes on. But for right now, this offseason, I think they're going to be advised to keep him. I would put Ethan Posick in maybe, because if you like Luke Whippler, go ahead and drop Ethan Posick. But if you're not really excited about Luke Whippler, which I have no idea where they stand on him with, then, keep Ethan Posick because he's fine as a center. He's not terrible, but he's not good. And he can at the very least be a very serviceable backup center for whoever you want to bring in to be the starter. So again, you want to rebuild this offensive line, but you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to rebuild the entire thing in like 3 months. That's asking for a disaster, right? You want to do this offensive line build gradually over a couple of seasons. Might need you to keep some players because you already know you're going to lose Jack Conklin. I mean, not Jack Conklin. You know you're going to lose Joe Bitonio. That's not debatable. And you know that you need a left tackle at this point, right? Like Jack Conklin and DeJuan Jones, you got to factor them in as high-level backups at this point and not starting solutions because they've had too many injuries. So you know that you're going to have to figure out those positions, tackle and guard. This is a good guard class, apparently, so that's good news here. So you might be able to get a good guard later on in the draft. But that's where they're at with these guys, right? Like you're going to have to keep a couple of them because you don't want to replace 5 offensive linemen in one offseason, right? We'll see what they end up doing here. So those are the offensive line guys. David Njoku. I'm going to put David Njoku at maybe, but like the best maybe. It's going to be completely determined on how much money David Njoku wants, right? Like what kind of a deal does David Njoku want from the Cleveland Browns, and what kind of deal is he willing to accept from the Cleveland Browns? I think there's a sweet spot that they could hit that would make sense for David. The Browns are likely drafting a quarterback in the first round this year, so they're going to want somebody like David Njoku there. But also the Browns might be firing their coach, and part of the reason the Browns have had so many tight ends has been because of Kevin Stefanski and his love for the tight end position and 12 personnel and how he likes to run his offense. If Kevin is not here, then does David and Harold Fannin make sense for whoever's running the offense? It doesn't make sense at the money that you're going to have to pay David Njoku. And then at that point, what dollar amount makes sense for David Njoku for the new coach that might be in here? If it's Kevin back, then yeah, it makes sense to just bring back David Njoku. But since Kevin is not going to be a lock to come back, And, he's got to ask the maybe question about David Njoku. All right. Jason Tarver. I want him to be a mandatory hire for whoever takes the job. Whether this mean that you keep Jim Schwartz, whether this mean whatever you do, I want you to maintain Jason Tarver. He has been the best position coach this franchise has had since 1999. He has developed players. He has done a great job of identifying talent. He is responsible for you drafting what might be the defensive rookie of the year in Carson Schlesinger. He is somebody I want to keep in this organization as the linebacker coach for as long as he's willing to be the linebacker coach for the Cleveland Browns. Jason Tarver, I want him to be a cornerstone part of whatever we do going forward. I think very highly of him. Andre Schmidt, you can keep Andre Schmidt. Give him a nice little small extension. I think he's kicked the ball well enough. Alex Wright, another guy I think is pretty easy. You could keep. I don't think he's going to be too expensive. He's a good edge. They're not hard or they're not easy to find, especially good edges with the size that Alex Wright has. So, yeah, keeping him would be great. Martin Emerson. Keep because he's going to be cheap. I think you should keep him around. Jerome Ford, it's probably over for Jerome Ford here in Cleveland. Mahmoud Diabate, I would keep him. He's been a good player for you. All right, let's get to some of the coaching and executive picks here. Deuce Staley. I would hope they could keep Deuce. He's been a good running back coach for this team. I think he's done a great job developing some of the younger guys on the roster. Good job identifying Quinshon Judkins as a plus level running back. I would want to keep Deuce. I think he's done a good job as the running backs coach here. Bubba Ventrone, you can fire him today. Tommy Rees. I'm going to throw Tommy Rees tentatively in conditional. And the condition be that Tommy Rees is okay with the demotion. I like Tommy Rees. I think he can be a good coach for you. I don't know if he's offensive coordinator, full-on offensive coordinator for somebody, or if somebody's going to take the job and accept him being the offensive coordinator. But if you could have him around, maybe that would be good. I think he's been solid in his time here. I just don't think that he's going to be able to be kept in his current role. And if he wants to be an offensive coordinator, then he's going to have to be fired because he's not going to be kept on as the offensive coordinator here. Jim Schwartz, got this as a maybe. I think there are a lot of scenarios where it makes a ton of sense to keep Jim Schwartz. I think there are some scenarios where it makes sense where you have to let him go. Jim Schwartz, he's a good coach. He's not a perfect coach. His defense certainly has holes, but his defense's holes have been put into the spotlight because of the offense's failure for the most part throughout his time in Cleveland. So he's a good enough defensive coordinator that if you had a competent offense, you could probably be a championship caliber team. So I don't think you should just toss him because you're going to fire Kevin. I think you look at who's available. Like, let's say you want to bring in a Clint Kubiak or something like that again. Some up and coming offensive coordinator who's never been a head coach. I would not mind pairing up that offensive coordinator with Jim Schwartz, because Jim Schwartz is a former head coach. He's going to provide a lot of valuable experience for that first-time head coach. He's going to also know how things work in Cleveland and how this locker room expects things to work throughout the week, and some of the veterans expect things to work. And that's going to give whatever new head coach, if they're an inexperienced guy, a ton of information to be able to plan a solid game plan or solid plan of attack for taking over the team over the offseason. So, there are a lot of scenarios where I think it makes a ton of sense to keep Jim Schwartz. I'm not eager to get rid of him. But if you do bring in somebody who maybe is a bit more high profile or a defensive mind, then I'm not going to force Jim Schwartz on them, right? That's why he's not in keep. I'm not going to force somebody to keep Jim Schwartz. But in the vast majority of situations that I can imagine the Browns being in after this season, I think it makes sense to keep Jim Schwartz. And keep in mind, Jim Schwartz was an Andrew Berry hire, right? Like, he was brought in by Andrew Berry to run the defense after Kevin fired Joe Woods, or at least that's the story that we hear about Jim Schwartz going back a couple of years ago. So it would make sense if Kevin is gone, but maybe Andrew's not, that Jim Schwartz stays, but you're not going to make Jim Schwartz your head coach. I know a lot of people are pushing for that one. We've seen Jim Schwartz as a head coach. It hasn't been great. He had Matthew Stafford and Megatron and never really made anything out of it. And that's like franchise quarterback and a franchise wide receiver. So if you're trying to fix your offense, I don't know if that's the guy who's going to fix your offense. Again, this is a guy who's struggled offensively with those two guys. But, as a defensive coordinator, you want to keep him here. And that way you're maintaining a lot of stability and continuity despite the fact that you're changing a head coach. I don't mind that at all. Like, I don't even think Jim Schwartz at this point in his career wants to be a head coach again. So I don't even think it's something he's going to take as a slight. So I think there's a lot of scenarios where you can keep Jim Schwartz here and move on from Kevin. All right. Andrew Berry. We're going to put him in keep. He's definitely in keep for me. If we're looking at what his job description has been over the last few years and how he's done it, I think he's done it well. I know people complain about the offense and say that offense is Andrew Berry's fault because he drafts the offense. But keep in mind, the Browns have spent their premium picks, their first and second round selections. Only 2 of those 8 picks that they have had in the first and second round have been used on the offense. The other 6 picks have been focused on the defense. And when you look at the 6 picks that they used on the defense, all those picks turned into very useful players for the Cleveland Browns defense. Even when you look at the 2 picks that they used on offense, one of them is the Jed Wills pick, which was a swing and a miss there, but that was also a pick recommended to you by your offensive line coach who, Bill Callahan, who everybody respects, right, in his first years of GM. So you can kind of give a pass to that one, even though it was not the best selection for a tackle available. The other selection was Quincy Junkins, who turned out to be pretty good here. If you're looking at Andrew Berry, if you look at the draft selections he's used most of those premium draft selections on the defense, and the defense is good. Right now, it's time to put that same focus on the offense, and hopefully the offense has similar results. His management of the Myles Garrett situation, I thought, was A+ stuff. His ability to manage trades and the salary cap, I think, has been A+ stuff. He's done a great job with the trades. He's done a great job with the draft. He's done a great job with, managing contracts and bringing guys back and keeping guys here, despite the fact that we're dealing with the Deshaun Watson thing. I think he's done a good job. Now, who knows how responsible he is for the Deshaun Watson trade, right? I think that's the X factor for a lot of people. If he was the driving force behind getting Deshaun Watson, then people are going to look at him sideways. But you got to remember, if we go back to 2022, Deshaun Watson was universally seen as a top 5 quarterback, even up until the points where the Browns traded for him, right? So even then, I think there is a level of understanding there of how out of left field the fall off was for Deshaun Watson and how unpredictable that was for everybody involved in it, right? It's not like they drafted Johnny Manziel, who was like never gonna be good. It was taking a swing on somebody who everybody told you was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL already, and it didn't work out. So yeah, I think Andrew's done a good job here. I know it's hard to feel that when the team is this shitty, but I think that the young talent that's on the team right now has been good. When you look at the defense and their ability to replenish the defense over the last few years, the undrafted guys that they've hit on, the late round guys that they've hit on, the mid round guys and the early round guys that they've hit on, it all points towards that part of the team actually being fine. And I think the bigger issue with the offense is, they haven't had a lot of talent put into it. But when Deshaun Watson is somebody you invested 3 first-round picks in, of 2 fourth-round picks and a third in, and you're getting absolutely nothing from him on top of getting nothing from the $230 million that you spent on him in cap space, that's going to have an effect on the offense that I think is impossible for any GM to kind of make disappear. So that being said, I have Andrew and keep. I think they should keep Andrew Berry. Kevin Stefanski, I'm tempted to just throw him into fire, but I'll put conditional here. And the condition is you might be able to trade Kevin Stefanski to a team. He is a former 2-time coach of the year. There's a lot of teams that will value that, will want somebody with some level of credibility into that locker room. He's also a younger coach. You might be able to get a draft pick for him. And if you can get a draft pick for him, get a draft pick for him. So I'll put him in conditional. I find it very hard to believe that there's a scenario where he could come back and have so much success that he ends up getting an extension. But I don't think it's out the realm of possibility, right? Like I talked about this on Q and Co. 90% sure they're going to fire Kevin Stefanski, but I'm going to leave a 10% chance here that they do the Hugh Jackson thing, which ended up being a mistake and I think will be a mistake, where they kind of let Kevin get the extra year after it feels like he should have been fired. And then they fire him in the middle of the season if things don't go well next year, which I think would be stupid to do, but I think it's on the table because you know who our owner is. So I'll put him in conditional for those 2 conditions. I don't think there's a scenario where you're like, nothing is wrong, Kevin can come back, the offense is fine. I don't think that's a scenario, right? I think you got to make some serious changes there. But that's my thoughts here. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you're wondering like where guys are, like certain position coaches, if they weren't standouts, I weren't going to put them on here because like if you fire Kevin Stefanski, then it's obvious that you're going to fire the wide receiver coach that everybody wants fired or something like that. So, didn't feel the need to put him there. But if you want to imagine him there, I put him in fired. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.